Okay, we're just waiting for a few more people to come in. Let me see. Let's unmute all of you. Okay. All right. So we are live on YouTube, and hey, Ronald, fancy seeing you here. Hi. So we've got Ronald here. We've got people on YouTube as well, and we won't know who they are because we can't see their names. So, all right, what time is it now? So it's 10. Let's start. Hi, very good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday Talk Live by Place Borneo. And my name is Mona Abdul Manap. Yes, you can see my name here, and I'll be your host for today. And today I'm different. I'm in a different office actually because my line at home wasn't so stable, so I have to leave. So you don't see my books as the background today. Right, so Tuesday Talk Live is essentially a platform for us to share ideas, solutions, information, anything, and ask each other questions, and not to debate, but to have thought-provoking discussions, and also to propel us to think a bit deeper on certain topics. And today's topic is going to be food and eating. It's a very, very interesting topic. I think we can go on for days talking about this. Those on Zoom, you can actually ask your questions. There's a Q&A option at the bottom of the page. So just type in your questions there. If you're on YouTube, you can also just type your questions on the chat option, and we'll be able to pick the questions up as we go along. Now, the topic for today, the future of food and eating. So food, you can talk about food, I think, for days or months or whatever years. And on eating itself, you can also talk about that. So there's different styles of eating and different ways of eating, different culture of eating. So it's a very broad subject. And especially us in the Asian culture, I think our life literally revolves around food. So when we meet someone, we don't say, hey, how are you? We say, hey, dah makan. So have you eaten? So it's basically something that you know we deal with every single day. So, but what is it about food and eating? Are there any crises that we're facing right now? So based on the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they say that we have 10 challenges in the world right now. If we were to feed people, and by 2050, we're going to have additional 2 billion people, and that makes a total of 10 billion people that we need to feed in the future. So we've got a lot of challenges to actually fit into that, or to be able to produce enough for this amount of people. But how do we do that without actually putting too much tax on a planet, on Mother Earth? How do we do that sustainably? So these are the things that we're going to be talking about. And also nowadays, there's a lot of trends, you know, like eating trends. So we've got keto diet, we've got, you know, intermittent fasting. That's also a trend right now. Water fasting, a lot of people are doing that. And a host of other things. Blood type diet, I've heard about that. I've been trying to follow that. Unsuccessful. So there's a lot of eating habits as well. So which one are we supposed to follow? Which one is the right one for you? So these are the things that, well, there's a lot that we can unpack, but we hope we can go a bit deeper into a few of them, and do ask questions. We really, really appreciate your questions. And today we've got a few speakers, very, very experienced in their own different areas. The first one, we've got Miss Sonia Raniang Vincent from the Shah General Hospital. So she is a clinical dietitian there and has been working in the outpatient and inpatient setting since 2013. Yep. Or 2012. And she is, what she says here, she's a passionate advocate for healthy eating. So as a dietitian, I think you should be. And she's also involved in a lot of health community services. So she's going to share with us a bit more on the diet side, on the eating part mostly. So welcome to the show, Sonia. And next up, we have Assistant Professor Christopher Wan Sageng. And he is the resident manager of UCSI Hotel Kuching. It's at the Isthmus near BCCK. And he's also the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism Management, UCSI University Sarawak campus. The reason he's here today is because his background is, he's actually a chef. by practice, by training. So he's won awards in cooking competitions in the region, and he's also the host for a cooking show called Sudut Cerpu. So that translates to spoon and fork, right? Spoon and fork. It's a TV show produced by RTM. It's a local TV station that we have here. So welcome to the show, Prof. And last but not least, a very interesting topic from Emilia Lim today, the founder, hi Emilia, the founder and CEO of Aqua Vermiponic Sdn Bhd. Okay, so for those of you who don't know vermiponic, if you know aquaponics, it's, you have plants without soil, you're planting in water, and aquaponics means you're using fish. The waste from the fish will circulate to your plants and then, fertilize your plants. So that's aquaponics. So vermiponics, instead of using fish, you're using worms. So the waste from the worm, it becomes like a worm tea, they call it. So this tea is actually the water that circulates to your plants and actually fertilizes it. So they use red worms. So I did a bit of reading on this. And the reason why we're talking to her is because these worms are also a source of protein. You can actually eat them. It's like people eating the ulat mulong. So I've never tried these worms before, excuse me, but my mom has tried it, surprisingly. I think Emilia forced her to eat the worms, and she said it was kind of crispy, I think she said. So today, she's going to talk about alternative forms of protein source in our diet, and worms being one of them. Actually, insects have also been a protein source in a lot of cultures, and we can talk about that as well. So her company, the mission is to create organic farming with aquaponics and worms, which are actually more environmentally friendly. So we're going to explore a lot about that, and you can ask her questions about her worms and how it works and what you can cook with it. Okay, so as usual, I'm not going to talk too much. We're going to go into a bit of an individual introduction by each of the speakers, and then we'll head on to the discussion. So just keep your questions coming, and we'll head on to your questions as and when we go along. So we'll start with Sonia. Go ahead, Sonia.
Okay, hi, hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, thank you, Mona and team, for having me here today. I'm very happy to be part of this, and I'm looking forward for today's webinar to share and also to learn from each and every one of us. So a little bit about myself again. I'm Sonia. I'm a dietitian. I would like to explain more about dietitians. Dietitians are health professionals that assess, diagnose, and also treat dietary and nutritional problems at an individual level and also wider public health level. We work with healthy people and also sick people from every life stages: babies, young children, teenagers, pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, older people. Each have different nutritional needs in every life stages. In variety of settings, as in the food industry, we have catering dietitians, sport dietitian, other pathway that a dietitian can go include dietary for mental health, learning disabilities, dietitian in the community, acute setting, and public health. In Malaysia, commonly we see dietitian in the hospital and clinic most of the time. So our service using evidence-based medical nutrition therapy, it must be supported by evidence before we give the advice. So my experience as a clinical dietitian for about 7 years now, since 2013, handling inpatient and outpatients with communicable and non-communicable diseases, NCDs in short form. So NCDs such as hypertension, diabetes, obesity. Then we plan an individualized therapeutic diet for our patient. Just for sharing, I read here, according to the World Population Review 2019 last year, Malaysia has the highest prevalence of obesity among the adults in Southeast Asia at 15.6%. So this is an achievement that we should not be proud of, followed by Brunei, Thailand, and Indonesia. Our health minister, Datuk Seri Dr. Adam Baba, said 1 in 5 of Malaysian adults aged above 18 suffer from diabetes. So it's like if I choose 5 people in the audience, 1 is having diabetic.
Oh no.
So yeah, this is a lifestyle disease. So I think the topic for today is going to be interesting to discuss about the current food trend that might have a positive or negative impact to our health. So that's all for me. I pass back to Mona.
Okay, thanks, Sonia. Oh, that's very interesting. I wasn't surprised with the obesity rate in Malaysia, though I know that we're pretty obese, I think, here. Okay, the next one, next up we have Professor Christopher. Go ahead.
All right, so of course, a very good morning, also a pleasant morning to everyone who join us virtually. And of course, as been introduced by Mona earlier on, my name is Christopher Wan, currently the acting resident manager for USSI Hotel Kuching, in which located in Isthmus, just opposite of BCCK. And I'm also the Deputy Dean for the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism Management, USSI University Malaysia. So today, I'm going to share a little bit about why you eat the food that you do, which will give you an overview picture of the reason why we are eating certain food due to specific reason, because sometimes we will not know why we are eating certain food, right? So this cover from the aspect of social cultures to marketing. So are your decision of eating really determined by oneself internally, or we shall discover more during my sharing later on. So this actually shall comprehend on what Sonia mentioned about diabetes, increase of people who are, obesity is growing rate and so on. So basically, I will actually comprehend whatever that Sonia is going to share and let all of you know why we choose and why we are eating unhealthy and whatsoever. So I'm looking forward to share with all of you on my thoughts on the view on this particular topic. So thank you. So I'm back to you, Mona.
Okay, thanks, Chris. I saw your slides and I think they're really interesting. I think that's quite interesting why we eat certain things. And there's a lot of reasons why you eat them. It's not just because you're hungry. Sometimes there are other things. So he's going to share that with us later. All right, the next one we'll go with Emilia. Go ahead, Emilia.
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. So I'm Emilia from Aquaponic. So I started this business actually back in 2014. So at that time, I still haven't registered my business yet. So the core mission of my business is to help on the food waste and as well as the food sustainability in the agriculture side, because farmers are our back end of the food supplies. So this is what I'm looking at. Okay, so later on we'll be sharing about two problem issues. One is of the food waste. There are some countries which there are plenty of food waste to be thrown into the landfill, whereas in another hand, there are some other poorer countries which people are starving. So this is the current main issue, and as well as when the world population growing, just as Mona mentioned earlier, we'll be having very critical food crisis in the future as well. So later on, we'll be sharing about the alternative protein from the food and how the cycle is. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Emilia. All right. Sorry, I'm just sorting out the screens here. Okay, so I think we're going to have a really good balanced discussion, just like a balanced diet. We need to also have a balanced discussion covering everything. So before that, let's go ahead and talk about the current trend of food and eating. So just to place where we are right now, what's the current trend? I think, Christopher, could you start on that first? Yep.
Current trend right now, a lot of people, especially during the MCOs, people are less cooking at home. What they do, they order food from Grabs and so on. So of course, it's very convenient and so on. That's one of the factors why, obesity is coming in. During MCO, by right, we should thin down, but however, we are getting more weight. Now because of all these factors, actually, the main reason why we are getting into this kind of trend is basically through factors that affecting all around us. For example, COVID-19, it affects us of how and also what we are pursuing to eat and whatsoever not. I think that's my point of view of what is current trend right now, where food is it's not like the previous year where we cook at home, but now it's all about convenience. So convenience is the key that affecting what we eat right nowadays.
Yeah. I do agree, and there's so many of these what do you call it, viral, like viral coffee, which is literally just sugar, and you're whipping up the sugar with a drop of coffee. So I just don't get that, but it's something that people all want to try, and then
Right.
viral this, viral that, the cakes and fatty food. What else, Sonia? I'm sure you've heard trends that the people are coming to the hospital with, or some diseases. So what's your take on this?
Okay. Okay, I would say the trend for food and eating right now, well, there are different dishes and beverages that are always cycling in and out of popularity. Most people would love to dine in a restaurant, and some prefer eating at home and enjoy cooking their own food, trying out recipes. The choice that a person decide in their food preferences will make it a food trend. So the reason some people stick to special kind of diet is they want to preserve their health, some for beauty purposes, and sometimes people choose what to eat just to meet or indulge their taste bud, or just for convenience, just like just now said. Especially during MCO, people taking precautions, staying at home, avoid social interaction, and look for eating solution. Personally, for me, during this critical time, I think we would like to see a food trend where people choose food with a discerning mind, what is good or bad food for their health and happiness. So this is my hope for the food trend in Malaysia. Always think of health before choosing your food.
But I don't think a lot of people do that. It's very easy for us to say that, but the advertising, with McDonald's, KFC, and Pizza Hut everywhere, so you also feel like you want to eat that. And if you're eating for happiness, I think that's very dangerous, because if I'm eating for happiness, I'll be eating ice cream every single day. So I think there's certain emotional eating. I saw that on your slides, Chris. So I think that's something that people need to be aware of. Talking about the MCO, a lot of people they were experimenting at home, cooking different things. They were also doing a lot of gardening, and I think, Emilia, you may be aware of this, but were they people actually ordering your worms as food, or are they using your worm as part of their vermiponics exercise?
Yes, Mona. During the MCO, so there are a lot of the logistic issues happening everywhere, and flights are down as well. So people are starting their own farming at home, or the gardening even in their balcony as well. So that's how we bring in the vermicompost, is the worm pool for their organic gardening at home. So they started their own mini garden or mini veggie farms, and they do their supply for their families. And a part of that, our super worms is also one of our top selling exotic snacks. They can be used like they mix it with nasi lemak, like just like the ikan bilis, okay, or just for snacks for our alternative protein as well.
Okay. Wow. So you actually call them super worms, is it? Is that what they're called?
Actually, we have 3 types of worms.
Okay.
So super worms is the type that which we consume as food snacks, and the earthworms, we are using them as a fertilizer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. I saw online it says red worms. Is that the same?
It's quite similar.
Okay.
Okay, for outsider, probably you see them as red worms only, but in the more detailed things, we call it, there are certain species lah. So
Different
ours, we are using the African night clovers, which is a very large species. Yeah, so they produce more vermicompost, so they produce more good soil as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, I need to try this. I need to eat that, but I'm not really ready yet, I think. Okay, so the next question, we've got all these trends, and we're probably eating based on what we see on TV, based on what our friends are eating, social eating maybe, but are we eating what we should be eating? Christopher, maybe you want to start on this as well.
It depends actually. You see, if we talk about are we supposed to eat what we are, by right, I'm not against any diet whatsoever. For me, I don't really go to specific diet, but however, what I do is actually control whatever I eat. I can eat anything that I want, but at a very particular portion. So I don't take a large portion at one time because if I'm not mistaken, Sonia, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember what is the limit calories per day that we have to. Is it 1,000 to 1,200? I'm not sure, but I think it's around that range. But we have to really maintain that particular calories intake. But however, if we are very active and so on, there's no harm for us to get more calories.
Yes.
Right? But of course, we have to exercise and whatever. Now, it actually depends on personal, our activities that we do and whatever. So for me, that's my point of view from what you have mentioned just now.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's quite subjective. It depends on
Right.
your lifestyle. It depends on your body, the shape of your body, and perhaps it depends on your mental health, like what Sonia said. So there are certain things that you may feel like eating a lot of, but because of your current condition, maybe you shouldn't be eating them. So this takes a bit of study, I guess, or a bit of research on yourself. And like Sonia said, you have this evidence-based nutrition. So I think you need to do a bit of testing, or I think, I don't know, the dietitians might be more familiar with this. And how about you, Sonia? What is your take? What do you think about what are we eating, what we should be eating right now?
Yeah. So are we eating what we should be eating? If our body like react immediately for after we eat certain food, right? For example, let me make a situation. Mona have a wound on your hand, a very big wound. Then I give you one food. You eat it, digest, absorb, then boom, the wound at your hand heal immediately within second. If with this kind of quick result, we know that this is good food, we should be eating this. Or another example, eat one kind of food, then boom, the body become obese. So we know we should be eating less of this food. But this is not the case, right? The effect of nutrient in the food to our body takes time. And because of this, many people are ignorant or just don't know whether they are eating what they should be eating. So that is why research become more accurate in determining what we should eat to attain optimal health. It is essential to eat the right amount of nutrients on proper time to achieve the best performance and longest lifespan. There are 5 key points that I would like to share here. Let me share you a slide.
Yeah.
Give me some time to answer the question what we should be eating. Okay. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so there are 5 key points. Yeah, 5 key points. Okay, so first, establish an eating schedule. Second, identify your 4 key nutrients throughout the day. Third, food selection, choosing the right food. Fourth, eating food in the right portion. And then fifth, check your hydration. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so let's look at number 1. Everyone have their own eating routine. The common one is eating like 2 to 3 hours a meal. You have your breakfast, then after 2 hours, you have your snack, then lunch, then snack again, then dinner. This eating routine is not a problem with the correct amount of food and follow your calories. And there's also those who have 3 square meal, meaning they just have breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's it, no snacking. Also, no issue to follow this eating routine. And some do intermittent fasting, like the table here. They fast from 12 midnight until 12 noon the next day, then only have the earliest meal for lunch, 12 noon, dinner, then supper. Again, this is also not a problem if you strictly follow the instruction, but it is not recommended for pregnant women or those having glucose impairment and gastric. My advice is whatever schedule you choose for your eating routine, make it consistent. Yeah. And the second key point here is to identify your 4 key nutrients throughout the day. Okay, there are 4 key nutrients, that is carbohydrate, about 45 to 60%. of our total calories, protein 15 to 20%, fat 25 to 30%, and vitamins and minerals. The first key nutrient is carbohydrate. It is the main source of fuel for the body and brain, energy source during exercise. It provides soluble and insoluble fibers that contain in our fruits and vegetables that support gut health and cardiovascular health. The second key nutrient is to get adequate protein. This is the building blocks for all tissues such as muscles, bones, organs. Protein keeps the body healthy and strong, support growth and development. Then the third key nutrient is fat. It supports joint health and have anti-inflammatory effect, enhance cognitive function, enable body to absorb essential vitamin A, D, E, and K. So with these three food groups, carbohydrate, protein, and fat, in hand, it will provide essential vitamins and minerals to our body that support every vital function to keep us alive, keeping our immune system strong and healthy, and to protect body from disease. So moving on to the next slide. So the third key point is food selection, choosing the right food. So how? So from the three food groups, okay, carbohydrate, protein, and fat here. Okay. We can further list down a variety of carbohydrate to grain and fruits and vegetables. Okay, you can see the food list of grains such as oats, wheat bread, brown rice, barley, porridge, wheat pasta. Then food list of fruits like sweet potatoes, carrot, banana, pumpkin, fruits and vegetables. And the food list of a healthy lean protein, dairy and plant protein such as fish, egg, yogurt, milk, lentils, dal, chickpeas. Then the food list of fat group such as nuts, seed, olive oil, pumpkin seed. So when we consume three variety of these three food groups, carbohydrate, protein, and fat, okay, it will provide us with all the essential vitamin and minerals. The next key point is eating food in the right portion. This is usually the problem when I see my patients. Some will need large amount of food from the other based on many factors such as physical activity or due to medical condition. So using our hand to estimate our amount of each food that we need, the amount of carbohydrate, as you can see here, okay, is about one fistful, like one fistful of grain like rice, and another fistful of fruits or starchy vegetable like potato, apple. Okay, then for protein portion, okay, choose an amount equivalent to the size of the palm of your hand and the thickness of the little finger. Okay, so you can see the picture. That is the size of the protein that you need if you want to take it from meat. Then vegetable portion, choose as much as you can hold in both hands. This should be the green leafy vegetables, spinach, cabbage, or cauliflower. And for fat, limit fat to an amount size of the tip of your thumb. It looks like 1 teaspoon of cooking oil or margarine or 1 piece of almond or a size of 2 cashew nuts. Okay, so move to the next slide. Okay, so for an average person with normal BMI, for male, 2,000 calories is required. Female, like me, 1,600 calories. So the number of serving for carbohydrate for male is about 13. Then we can divide half of it from grain and the other half from fruits and vegetables. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I continue, and another 8 serving of protein for male and 9 serving of fat. So total this up will be 2,000 calories. It will look something like this. Okay, next slide. Okay, it will look something like this when we distribute to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You see the protein. Okay. See the protein for breakfast. We put here 2 serving for breakfast protein. It will look something like 2 boiled egg with 1 glass of low-fat milk. Then your grain will be like 2 slices of bread 1 serving of fruits, example like 1 slice of papaya. Then fat for breakfast, 3 serving of fat for breakfast can be like 1 teaspoon of margarine spread on your bread with almond nut per se. So you can plan something like this after you establish your eating routine and knowing your food groups. And the last key point is hydration. Check your hydration by drinking adequate fluid, by taking less of sweetened beverages, some of the best fluid, of course, plain water or lemon, just to mention a few. It is important to keep hydrated because hydration can cause headache, constipation, fatigue, joint and muscle pain, impaired cognitive function. So make a plan, look into your schedule and lifestyle, then you know, are you eating what you should be eating? By taking into consideration of the 5 key points, establishing your eating routine and know your food groups and portion, select quality food over junk food, and remember to drink adequate amount of fluid. Okay, that's all for me.
All right, thanks, Sonia. Yeah, you mentioned earlier that we should do research and we should know the amount of food when we should be eating based on your body and all that. So if an everyday person like me, how do I do research and how would I know, how much am I supposed to eat? Yeah, I can roughly gauge, I feel kind of full after eating rice, but I wouldn't know whether it's actually good for me. So what can we do as lay people to check what would be good for us? How do we check that?
What will be good? We will set target for you. For example, what is your target for your, is it you eat because you want to lose your body weight or because you have like hypertension? Then there will be certain of food we call the DASH diet approach to stop hypertension. There will be like a lot of serving. We have like the how many serving that you should take from your vegetables and fruits, and then limit the amount of processed food or the salted food, because this can cause your blood pressure to increase. So it will go back to the 5 key point again. We will calculate your calories, then distribute the portion of your carbohydrate, fat, and protein.
Okay.
Then,
so I guess I mean, for normal people, it's best to actually go to a dietitian and they can actually do a bit of a study on you and your lifestyle, and then maybe tell you a bit about what you should be eating. So Christopher, I'd like you to share your slides on like why we should be eating. I thought it was very interesting. Go ahead. Yeah.
Let me share my screen first.
Yeah.
So, all right, you guys can see on my presentation slides.
Yes.
All right, so these are going to be my topic. It's going to be a very interesting topic to foresee that why you eat the food that you do. Some people really think that the food that you eat is actually based on your own serve, but in actual fact, it's not really that reason, because it actually contributed by several factors. I'm going to share you more what is our factors. So why you eat the food, what you do is basically because of these 8 aspects, which is flavor. Of course, flavor, you cannot run from the, for flavor, for example, taste. If people, if the food is nice, of course, you want to eat that particular food. Then other aspect of food, for example, cost, convenience, nutrition, demographic of that particular society, culture, religion, health, social and emotional influence, marketing, and media. This is one of the most interesting topic, which is about marketing. I will share later on, and also environment concern. So let's go to the first factor, in which flavor. So if you talk about flavor, it of course include taste, your smell, the texture, mouthfeel, the temperature, and also sound. So flavor is actually a combination of all of these 5 senses, all right? And of course, the most important consideration when we choose something is actually taste. If the food doesn't taste nice, of course, you will not want to eat that particular food. So if you talk about taste, we as a human being, as adult, we have approximately around 10,000 taste buds on our tongue, on our cheek, on our throat, and of course, our roof of our mouth, right? Of course, taste buds for each sensation are scattered around our mouth. But if you see, kids have more taste buds rather than adults, because that's the reason why you see the number one critic for parents who cook at home, or for me, even my chef, the hardest or the most picky eater is the kids. If they say the food is not nice, meaning definitely honest is not nice, right? Because kids will not lie. Because I say that is because kids have a very sensitive but taste, so they can taste a small little amount of bitterness, then they will tell you it's not nice, right? So basically, if you want to know whether your cooking is good or not, please serve your taste. They will tell you honestly what is your food gonna be. Then second is of course smell. Smell is very important part of taste as well, because through smell it actually entices you to eat certain food. Okay, if the food smell nice, then of course you want to taste it. But however, certain cases, for example, there's a food called chor tofu, smelly tofu. It smells stinky. You will not want to eat it, but if you eat it, it will taste slightly different. It's actually all based on your perception on that particular food. So smell is very important to taste. So receptor in your nose can distinguish among about 10,000 senses, right? So we don't even know, I don't even know that we have 10,000 senses all this while, but after reading some research papers on, we do have 10,000 senses. But of course, if we compare to, for example, like a dog and so on, they have very high senses compared to human being. Of course, when the smells occur is while you're cooking or while you're eating or when you smell your food, right? That will entice you to eat more. And of course, the sense of smell and also detecting of aroma in wine and how wine is tested. So that's the reason why you see if someone who are very sommelier, you call it, when they want to taste wine, they smell the wine first and to get all the aromatic, and also it actually entice you to enhance the taste of the particular food. Right, the third factors in regard to flavors is actually the texture and mouthfeel. So this is also one of the factors why you are eating certain kind of food, right? Texture that people like, of course, crispy, juicy, creamy, tender, and firm, and also crunchy. And texture that people doesn't really like is very tough, crumbly, lumpy, soggy, and watery. Just imagine if you have a very soggy fried chicken or very soggy cookies, you will not like to eat these kind of things, right?
Depends.
Definitely, right? So texture is actually influenced whether you like the food, or also it tell you whether the food is fresh. So this is actually part of the implication of flavors as well, and of course sight and sound. So it always says that food, we eat your food with our eyes. So we fold our food, you see food is very pretty, very instrum, how to say, um, how to say, very photogenic. It look very nice. Then you take photo and then you post in Instagram or Facebook. So definitely you will want to try to eat this kind of food. So that's the reason why you see most of the fine dining restaurant, they do their food very refined, very niche, very photogenic. It's actually for you to eat with your eye first. So color is very important, right? That's why there's a lot of coloration in the plates, actually to attract you to eat the food, and it tell you about the flavor and the quality of food. And of course, one of my chef previously tell me that the more colors on your plates, the more nutritions and the more vitamins you have in the plates, because different color vegetables have different amount of vitamins and also minerals in it. So the more you put in, the more healthy you gotta be. So for eye appealing, consider color, size, shape, consistency, and also arrangement. So eye appealing is especially important for cold food, and of course sound. If you talk about sound, let's say the sizzling of fajita where they put on the hot plates, you can hear the food sizzle. So meaning it's actually create or enhance your appetite or entice you to eat certain kind of food. So that is actually covered about flavors, why you eat certain kind of food. So if you look at other aspect of food, of course, if you look through here, we have food cost, convenience, availability, familiarity, and habits and nutrition. Does these factors impact what you decide to eat? Definitely is yes, because sometimes we have to depend on our economic status, right? So food cost is very high into put into consideration. If the cost is cheaper, definitely people will opt for that. For example, people like us in Malaysia or in Asian, we like big portion food, but it's cheaper. So we will opt for that rather than we go for healthy kind of food. So convenient is talk about how close is that particular places? For example, if you want to go to restaurant, is it convenient for you to go there? Or is it convenient for you to get that particular ingredients, availability, how the ability of the product at the particular area as well. Of course, familiarity. If you are familiar with that kind of food, then definitely you have the tendency to eat that food in much more comfortable manner, right? For example, if Amelia was talking about worms. So if you ask me to eat worms, I'll be a bit skeptical because I'm not familiar with this kind of worms. But of course, if I try and constantly to keep on trying and trying, so definitely I will get familiar with this kind of product. So I will have the tendency to eat this kind of product. And of course, habit and also nutrition as what Sonia has been covering up early on. So if you talk about demographic, of course, demographic as well affect food choices. Of course, female will need less calories and male will need more calories. So meaning males eat more because you see, the main reason why male is having more calories is because male have more muscle volume. So we need more calories for our body to operate and so on. And of course, other demographic factors that affect what we eat is actually our age, because at younger age, we eat a lot, right? And now when for example, I'm at the middle age, I eat at moderate level, but towards when we are getting older, we're getting lesser, we eat quite less. And of course, gender, as I mentioned just now, women and older women tend to consider nutrition more than men or young adults. And people with higher incomes and education tend to consider nutrition more because you see, the more educated you are, the more well-versed you are in regards towards nutrition. You are very conscious about what you eat, and because of your financial backgrounds, you have money to spend in all this healthy food. Because you see, if you talk about organic food, it's very subjective if I say it here, but you might agree with me. If you compare to organic food, if you realize organic food is much more expensive rather than normal conventional food, because they say that there's no preserve and so on. But if you think, if there's no preservation or whatsoever not, meaning it should be cheaper for us to purchase rather than to buy a very expensive product, for example the organic product. So that is few of things we can argue on later on. And of course, the main reason why we eat certain food is actually because of culture and religion. This one is very straightforward. For example, if we are Muslims, you cannot eat pork. If you are Buddhist, you will not able to eat beef whatsoever. So this is very straightforward. Of course, culture is the behavior and belief of certain social, ethnic, or age group. Also religion, as I mentioned just now. And this is other things that are very interesting. Other influence on what you eat is actually, for example, social influence, peer pressure. This is very, very interesting. If I ask you this question, I think all of you agree what I'm going to say, because you see, let's say if I ask you or you ask your friend, hey, where do you want to go to makan? So where you want to go eat? So basically, we follow majority. We will not want to go to dine by ourselves. So usually we go follow our majority of friends where they go and so on. If let's say I suggested to go to vegetarian shops to have my lunch, but all my pool of friends insisted that they want to go to McDonald's. So without the choice, I'm being peer pressured with all my friends that I've decided to follow them. At the end of the day, I'm eating McDonald's. So that is what we call social influence. And the other thing is actually emotional influence. So if you talk about emotional influence, we eat, if you realize, it depends on our moods. We eat certain things because of our mood as well. For example, if you can see the ladies here, she is definitely eating chocolate. So if usually based on a research that has been done, if you are feeling sad or moody, you tend to find something which is creamy and melt in your mouth, which is chocolate. All right, it gives you some sort of soothing mood in which it helps you to comfort yourself against all the sadness and so on. But if you are angry, definitely you find something in which are very crispy kind of thing where you munch it and you crunch inside your mouth, this kind of things. So what you eat is actually depend on your mood as well, or your emotion. So it depends. Let's say on this particular day, I'm not happy, I'm so angry. So I eat something crispy in which to to comfort or to accommodate my mood or in my emotion. Of course, health concerns, as what has been shared by Sonia, is that particular person are dieting in regards towards to reduce the hypertension or whatever not, they have to really take into consideration what they eat as well. And of course, marketing and the media. This one is really what is really bothering all of us. All right. So if you look at the screen here, if I were to ask you a very simple question, right? Think of any food change that associate to the color red, as you can see here. So if you look at the color red, automatically in your mind, you would think of KFC, because you know how the brand it. You see, if you go to KFC outlets, it's all red. So when you see red color, if you think of food, definitely red color will associate to KFC. So if you see at the color of yellow, definitely first thing in mind, this is based on research, they will associate with McDonald's. Why McDonald's? Because of the logo M. It's yellow color. So it actually they are try to create some sort of condition stimulus where you know they feed you with all these marketing gimmick and so on, so that embedded into your mind. So when you see without realizing it, you automatically will know that, oh, this is KFC, oh, this is McD. And you know, if let's say if I hum this some sort of theme song, definitely you guys will know it. For example, if I sing or hum this kind of thing, ba pa pa pa, so definitely you will know that is what I'm loving it. So you see, you know, even the tagline for KFC, everyone knows it. You ask a small little kids, maybe 7 years old, 8 years old. If you ask about I'm loving it or is finger licking good, they will know what it is.
Yeah.
Because how they market and penetrate to all this segmentation from kids to adults is very amazing.
Yep.
That's how they really penetrate into that, and that's the reason why, as Sonia mentioned, diabetes and obesity increase, because the strength of the marketing that they've done, the amount of dollars that they spend for you know, for this food change to get into our brain and to influence us to eat.
Yeah.
And another thing that very interesting of decided what we want to eat is actually how they promote the thing. For example, McDonald's. Right, I'm not against McDonald's, but they have a very good marketing gimmick where they force the kids to decide to eat in McDonald's because of one thing: their toys.
Yeah.
So kids will definitely will push for, you know, like push their parents, say, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to go McDonald's because of toys."
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
definitely
that's true. That's true.
parents have no choice to, you know, to not to listen to their nagging, not to listen to their
Yeah.
crying because they're coming for this, not because of the food, but it's
Yeah.
actually because of their toy. So that's the reason why if you see McDonald's are very clever in this, because they are actually revising the toys in monthly basis, so
Yeah.
that kids will not get bored. And of course, parents, we have no choice because sometimes,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
parents are working adults. We can't
Okay.
really stand with all the stuff
Okay.
on, so we purchase this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that is few of my sharing on why the reason you eat the food that you do. So I
Okay.
think that's about it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mona.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we're going a bit more into food right now. So I'm just gonna drag us a bit back into the food source actually. But I do agree. The marketing part is, I think, is the main culprit. I wouldn't say, you know, like the only culprit, but I think it's the main culprit of why we are quite obese here in Malaysia. And I think there should be some regulations on what can be portrayed on TV and on billboards, so you don't influence people too much.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I think, you know, the availability of healthy food and the cost of it, I think that affects how we eat. Now, if we talk about food production, even you mentioned just now, the production of healthy food or organic food, somehow it's more expensive than actually producing junk food or fast food or processed food. So then it makes it easier for you to just get junk food and processed food. But if you want to produce healthy food, lean meat and good vegetables, good meat or good organic chicken and stuff like that, it's quite expensive. And is it sustainable for us to actually produce that? Emilia, maybe you have an idea on how we can go about producing more organic, healthy food, but we still don't use up too much land and you don't produce too much carbon, because when you have the cows and the chicken and all that, you're actually producing a lot of carbon into the atmosphere. So how do we go about that?
Okay, so thank you, Mona. So first of all, I would like to share about just now the topic which Prof mentioned, why organic food is more expensive. So reason being is not only the cost, it's also the risk also take part of it. Okay, so just now he mentioned that there's no preservative. Yes, I agree that, and we don't use any pesticide as well, or some like other chemicals or hormones which are not being used in organic. But apart of that, which these things are not being used, we got a lot of pests coming to eat up the veggies or the fruits. So there's a risk behind. So sometimes when the farm, when it's time to harvest, in overnight time, everything can be gone because of just pests. Like what our current situation in some countries now, the locust issue. So this is one of the reasons as well. So the risk is higher than the conventional type. Okay, so in a part of that, for organic farming, we use more natural methods to prevent disease as well. So that is a higher cost compared with the chemical pesticide, which is the cost is lower as well. So this is main of the cost that which organic is higher. But if let's say you farm it at home, the cost will be lower because there's no more logistic transport that you have to transfer the plants from, let's say, Cameroon to here. The logistic cost is also another issue. Then the second thing, all these fresh things, natural things, they cannot last long, like there's no preservative. So the lifespan, the shelf life is too short. That's why we have to mark up higher, or else everyone will be losing as well. Okay, so apart of that, okay, let's say now we are looking at the alternative protein issue and as well as a sustainable agriculture. So formerly what we do is we use up a lot of land to farm the beef, to farm the lamb for, and we do culture all the grass for the leaf, for the cow as well, or for the lamb as well. But this piece of land should be used to culture the crops for us to eat instead of culture the grass for the cow. Okay, so we are wasting a lot of our natural resources of our land to cultivate more food for us. So in another hand, what we look at is like the fish. The people are catching small fish to feed the fish, big fish as a feed. So in the natural ecosystem, this is very imbalanced as well. So once the small fish are all been catch up to feed the big fish, in future there's no more small fish. Like what we are facing now, the shortage of fish meal feed. So we are looking at the worms at alternative protein feed for the fish or for the chicken. So we don't need a lot of land, a lot of natural resources or carbon footprint as well to feed the worm, and we create a better solution for the fish feed, for the chicken feed. And in another hand, we save our land to culture more crops for our own consumption. Instead of culture all the jagung for the chicken, we can culture the corns for our own consumption. So this is how we can overturn the current situation to another new way. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Emilia. And I'd like to add on to that. I think a less a less invasive, I think, form of farming would also be, aquaponics is one. You're not using soil, so you actually can plant vertically. You're not using a lot of space, a lot of land. And you don't have to actually cut down trees for you to actually use the land. So instead of actually planting crops for us to eat, you can actually retain the forest where the wildlife is there actually. And I think that's more sustainable. And right now, at the moment, we are bombarded with more pollutants. We are more sedentary. We are sitting in front of the PC more than we should. We're not moving as much as we should. And it's a different, and we have a lot of processed food, over processed food. You don't even know the source of the food because it's all chemical in there. So because of that, you actually need more nutrients in your diet. You need to eat healthier food. But that's the part where we said just now, how is it that we make it more sustainable? In fact, I think if you source local, that means you don't have to transport your food further away. If you import from US, from Australia, or from China, you have to put preservatives. If not, along the way, it will all wilt and die. So if you actually source local, it's actually more sustainable. You don't need to transfer them here, and you actually support the local community, and you don't produce more carbon by transporting them. So in fact, in Kuala Lumpur, or out of Kuala Lumpur, there is a center called Crops for the Future. So they actually deal with forgotten crops or traditional crops. So why we forget is because it has been outpaced by global spread of Western style diets. So these are processed food, heavy in sugar, heavy in fat, and highly processed. So our obsession with imported products, especially when we have a bit more money, we need to buy, Western baju, more branded one. And that goes the same to food. So because we have a bit more money, we want to makan all the pucuk ubi apa semua because it's cheap food, But in fact, that is actually more nutritious to us than actually going for import food. So I think this going back into forgotten crops or our traditional food, I think is the way to go for the future. And we did talk about some of the fat diets and keto, vegan, blood type diet, genetic type. So there's so many different types, and I actually tried the blood type diet. I'm a blood type A, and based on blood type, I'm supposed to be vegetarian. And that means I cannot digest a lot of meat in my diet. But how true is that? And I feel like it's true. When I eat a lot of meat, I don't really feel good my body. But is that just me? Is that psychologically because I read the article and then suddenly, eat meat terus rasa bagus. So how do we know which diet is best for us, Sonia? What do you think about all these fat diets?
Yeah, so the Peter D. Adamo published book related to this, right? The food according to blood type. Yeah, there's a list of food to avoid or limit based on the blood type ABO, but there's an American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published in 2013. A systemic review shows that blood type diet lacks supporting evidence. So no studies that showed the health effect of the ABO blood type diet were identified. So if you want to validate those claims saying that this is good, but they need to do more studies required to compare the health outcomes between participants that adhere to the blood type diet and compare it with the participant that using standard diet to validate this claim. So, but it's not evidence-based. We as dietitians will not recommend this diet, but we will not stop you either. We just go back to the 5 key point nutrient that I mentioned earlier. For example, if you want to go vegetarian, then just make sure that first eat at the proper time, establish your eating routine, and then look into the 3 food groups. Make sure you take adequate amount of carbohydrate, about 45 to 60% just now. Okay, protein, fat, and for vegetarian, the carbohydrate source is similar to the normal diet because it's plant source from grain or fruits and vegetable. And protein, instead of meat, you can replace with egg, legumes, or tofu or meat to meet the 15 to 20% of protein requirement. Then adequate amount of fat in your diet, and with these 3 food groups of carbohydrate, protein, and fat in your plate will provide the essential vitamin minerals. So just go back to balanced diet again to know whether what food we should be eating. Yeah.
Okay.
And those for someone want to go for ketogenic diet also. Also, if they want to go with this diet, they have to be consistent. Yeah, because with any diet also, if you are not consistent, then it won't work. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, it all goes back to actually the basics of your eating and the type of food. So you must have the balanced a balanced type of food that you eat. So you must have all the carbs that you need, the protein or the fat that you need, but also the portioning or the amount of each of the items. So it doesn't matter what diet you're going into, but if you cover all those items that you require in your body, carbs, protein and stuff, so it should be all right. It should be all right. And everything, to me, I believe everything in moderation. You don't go all the way and eat just veggies for the rest of your life without thinking about protein and not eating beans and nuts and stuff. So I think that's quite easy to take up, as long as it's balanced, it doesn't matter what diet you're going into. Yeah, the amount and the portioning. And I think, how about Christopher? What do you think? As a chef, how do you think about all these diets? And I'm sure a lot of the restaurants, they're also facing, people are asking, oh, do you have a vegan option of this? Do you have non-dairy this? And, they're asking a lot of things nowadays. What do you think?
For people like me, very practical of our chef, we don't really go by the diet. Of course, we do knows about all these diet, but as a chef itself, we don't really practice diet because we rarely eat in the kitchen because we cook. We don't really eat in the kitchen, but of course, there's a lot of guests will request for vegetarian diet and so on. Of course, what we do is actually we plan out and also sit down with this particular customer and ask what do they want or what sort of vegetarian diet you on, because sometimes some guests are lactose over vegetarians, some are very vegan or whatever. So if they're really vegan and vegetarian kind of type of vegetarian, what we do is actually we create some dish which is totally vegetarians. So what we do, for example, as Sonia mentioned, that we have to have fat, we have to have protein and carbohydrate. So the most hardest part is to replace protein. A lot of people doesn't know that protein. A lot of people have the perception that protein could be only obtained through meat item, but definitely it's not really true, because protein also we can extract it from beans, legumes, what you mentioned. So what we usually do is actually we combine all these nuts and legumes on. It become from incomplete protein, it become complete protein, because when we mix all these kind of nuts, it's actually give you all the essential proteins that you need in our body. So as a chef, we have to be creative in how we develop our menu for all our guests. So that is one of the way that we do. Yeah.
Okay, and I like the point when you mentioned just now, the texture, the look, you eat with your eyes first, it's Instagrammable, then baru you want to makan, instead of saying your prayers, you take picture first, then you makan. So, so and for us in the events line, and for anyone who's organizing something, even for your own family meal, so we have to think about the source of food that we are serving. So where are you sourcing the food? Are you flying it in every time? Are you importing a lot of these beans and nuts when you can actually have your local ubi kayu, your local fruits, betet and all that, instead of having apples and oranges from China or something like that. So I think the source of food is very important when we are preparing food. This is in terms of events or in restaurants or even in your family. And also, you mentioned about the age. So, for example, if you're organizing a conference or if you're catering to a group of people and most of them are 70 years old and above, you know that they're not going to be eating a lot. So maybe you can reduce the amount of food so you don't have a lot of waste. So instead of going with our Asian instincts, we want to flush people with food, like every single minute. So we actually should cater it to the age of your audience. Another one is actually mental health. So I'm very intrigued with this, and how do we actually eat for our mental health? Does it mean that the more you eat fatty food or sugary stuff, and I know it's very addictive, sugar is addictive, and you get into a sugar high and then a sugar crash. So is that part of your mental health? So does it mean that actually eating healthier food means you have healthier mental health? Or how does that go? How does that relate to your mental health? Sonia?
I think I get back to you again because I didn't do any research on that yet.
Yeah, but I do
Yeah.
I do feel like I think well, at least to me, if I eat a lot of sugar, I get well, sugar high, well, happy. After that, you get a sugar crash, and then you feel actually you need to top it up by eating more of the sugary stuff or more of the fatty stuff. It becomes a vicious cycle. So
Yeah.
again, it goes back to your basic items just now. Your carbohydrates, your
Yeah.
protein, and your fat portion. So it goes back to that, and then your health will be okay. Now, I think what we need to add right now is not only look at the nutrients and the calories, but also look at the food source and how much waste are you creating when you're producing the food. So I think in future, that's the part where we need to think. When we are ordering food, are you creating a lot of waste? Where is that food from when you're ordering the food? Is it local? You need to fly it in. Your carbon footprint is tremendous. So those are the things that I think in future we need to think about. Actually, we don't. You cannot think about it in future. You need to think about it now, yesterday. You need to decide on it. My mom likes to say we need to do it yesterday. So we're already late. So yeah, we are 1 hour already into the show. We have one, it's not a question, it's a comment. If I don't eat for happiness, I will be more sad, which will also affect my mental well-being. So how? So we were talking about eating for happiness just now. So, that's the dilemma now. So you want to eat the food that you want, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's a healthy food for you, but makes you happy. So how do you actually, there's a lot of people who can't control their desire to eat sweet stuff or, like crispy or, oily stuff. So how do you actually control that in a population, in a bigger population, not just for yourself?
I think Mona was saying
Yeah.
that, if we really constrain on what we are eating, it's actually, for me, it's not right.
Yeah.
But for us as a human beings, as I mentioned, food actually contributes towards our emotion and so on.
Yeah.
So we need these kind of things, let's say sweet or whatsoever, just to may balance up our mental health. So what we do is actually we can still consume the food, but at a very moderate amount. So we don't go exceed.
That's the problem.
Right.
Putting it into moderate amounts is the problem. So once you start eating a cake, you want to have the second slice, and then after that you top it up with milkshake and other things. So and yeah.
But another interesting fact, if I don't know whether all of you realize, if you realize Western people eat slightly smaller portion rather than us Asian.
On their plate.
There's a reason why this happen is, you see, is the way of how we eating our food. For example, if we Asian, if we go to any shops or what, we order fried rice. I can guarantee you, if you're really hungry, you can finish that fried rice within 2 to 3 minutes. Even though it's big portion. But if you look at the Western culture, even though they have 4-course meal or 5-course meal, but it's very small portion, but they still get full because the amount of time that they eat, they chew, they consume, and when the food goes into your intestine, it will slowly digest and make you full. But for us Asian, we wall up everything, we eat everything, then our intestine does not have the time to absorb and also, to make you feel full. At the end of the day, once you finish, then you feel full. So there's a two different, perspective that I can say lah.
Yeah, but I think the Western people are also now going into fast food and junk food, and they're quite obese as well. I'm not saying that they're all healthy. Junk food, it originated from their side. But I must say, our culture here, MSG is the culprit because that makes us eat more. It's not unhealthy. I know that MSG, it would be good to not have MSG in your food, but it's actually not as unhealthy as a lot of people say. It's just flavoring enhancing. So you actually eat more. That's a problem. So with MSG, you eat more. So you don't, your portion control, moderation, semua out the window already. So, so you don't care about that because it tastes so good. So we're towards the end of the show. I don't want to keep going on and on, but I know there's so many things that we can talk about, like even food scares, like some people go to the extreme of food diets and just to lose a bit of weight or just to look good for their age. Any other comments that you guys want to add before we wrap things up? Sonia, would you like to add anything else?
On the food scares, right?
Yeah.
So we also heard about the salmon virus case, but actually
Yeah.
I'm not really aware of this, so I don't really have a comment on the food scares. But just to mention that I ordered also bento cooked salmon at Sushi King last week. So although I would say something about food safety, it requires discipline and attention at every stage of the food flow, from the raw material to the packaged products. There must be a regulatory body to monitor and do inspection on the compliance of the food safety and good manufacturing practice. We do not want to eat contaminated food also, right? In Malaysia, we have a few food safety legislation like the Food Act 1983 and the Food Regulation 1985. So this is the backbone for the food safety program. So stay calm, no need to be scared.
Yeah. And I think when we go back to our roots, you know, organic farming and all that, that's when the food safety is also taken care of, when you really take care of the quality of the food that you produce.
Yeah.
So again, I think it goes back to the source of your food, you know, the technology that you use to actually keep it healthy and fresh and organic. Now, when we're talking about the food source and, you know, alternative protein, we're talking about like worms and insects and food production. So how soon do you think we're going to have insects, you know, as snacks by the roadside? I know Thailand, they have it already, and that's fantastic. Emilia, maybe you have an idea on this.
Okay, we'll be having it very, very soon in the near future.
Wow.
Practicing it, and we are giving education and awareness to the public since 2017. That's why it went viral during the Kuching Fest. So over on and on, we'll be keeping on promoting it. And now I can say more younger generations like kids as well. That just now Prof also mentioned kids won't live on their test bar. So they will also tell their parents that they would like to buy it. And the youngsters that are already working young adults, they can also buy it. And they help us to market by sharing in their social media. So in the very near future, I see that this is very acceptable already.
And it's more sustainable, I think. And I
Yes,
think a lot of governments will look into it. It's cheaper, it's more sustainable, you know, it's more environmentally friendly. And that's the direction that we all should go into. And I think for us in events, we have to look at that as well. Yeah, Emilia, you wanted to add?
Yeah, and also our tourism side, they are also helping us to promote on the agro-tourism. So we have a few agencies that which we do collaborate, then to build out this kind of like agro-tourism as well as the new agriculture. I can say this is a new agriculture.
Yeah, that's great. Even though we have a lot of land in Sarawak, and it's no problem for us to go into, you know, all these crops and planting and have a lot of cows and chickens and or pigs. But, you know, in the long term, you're going to cut down more trees. And then when we come into a crisis, then we decide, oh no, we should change. But we should change it right now. And in fact, there is a conference on insects. It's called Insecta. And they discuss the probability of having insects as your food source, as your source of protein. So it's actually already discussed in the outside world, because they can foresee that it's going to be a problem. Food source is going to be a problem. Christopher, anything you want to add to close up?
Yeah, I think that is where the marketing in media comes really play a role, because you see, for us for example, in Malaysia, we don't really consume worm because this is not our norms and it's not part of our culture. But if we really fully utilize on media, telling that the benefit of eating worms, and of course we have to produce a very nice packaging for all these products. This definitely we captures our different segmentation of our communities to purchase and also to buy this product. So sooner or later, this will be a ripple effect. Then people will start to accept these products as common things for them to consume as a replacement for protein. I think that's where media comes
Yeah, and also I guess media in a way. I mean, if you want to engage the media, it's going to cost you a lot. And all these, the big M, McDonald's and KFC, they've got a lot of money to spend on media, and of course you see them all over. So maybe it also needs to have from the on a policy or regulation level from the top down. So the government must actually, regulate, how many seconds the video can show on TV, or you cannot show at all, any junk food on TV. Maybe that's a good start. You can only show organic, or you can subsidize organic food, instead of subsidizing, other things. So perhaps it comes from the government point of view, and we hope that they can take notice and not act when things are already, we're already in a crisis. So in fact, we are already right now, and we should take effort to actually try to see how we can feed the world without choking it. So that's a line. Actually, there's a conference, ChemSign, they're organizing it, I think next year or the year after. So they're coming up with a conference to find out ways that we can feed the world sustainably without choking it, without creating a lot of carbon, releasing it into the air. So I think that's the future of food and for ourselves, the population. Okay, so we don't have any other questions, and I think we covered quite a lot. I'm sure we can cover more if we wanted, if you wanted to, but I don't want to keep our audience here. I'm sure they're busy with work and with life. So thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you for spending your time and also for the ideas and the knowledge that you shared with us. And thank you to all the audience we have on Zoom and also on YouTube. And we'll see you in another 2 weeks again to the Tuesday Talk Live by Place Borneo. So before that, have a good day ahead. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye. Thank you.